Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero, solo dolo for the next 2 hours here today on 580 Sports Talk. Told you we're short-timing it all week here on the program, and that includes today. We are off early for more Kansas City Royals baseball. Think we're running out of ball games. Think we are running out of ball games, unfortunately. I mean, everybody is, you think about it, and even for the teams that are fortunate enough to make deep October runs, what are you talking? We got not that many more. We got one more month and a half of baseball left. But the Royals in particular, not feeling the blue October vibe right about now. Another ugly loss last night. We'll talk about it. They're down 2-0 in this 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians. They need some wins, and they need them in a hurry, and it needs to start tonight. Game 3 of that 4-game set at Progressive Field. A 5:40 first pitch tonight, just as the last two nights, which means we'll be off the air at 5 o'clock here on 580 Sports Talk. Make way for the Royals Baseball Network in pregame coverage. Maybe this game won't be over when it's still light out. Like, I like to feel like I've got a pretty good routine in place at this point with, you know, I have a 15-month-old at home. He's 15-month-old, man. Time flies. Anyway, I have still a small child at home that has a bedtime, and that bedtime usually lands in the 7:30 to 8:30 range. And so when it's my night to do bedtime, you know, I am aware that it is my night to put Asher to bed, do the nighttime routine, get him into the crib, watch him, make sure he's not fidgety or fussy, and then he goes down, and then I take my leave of his room, and then I'm free to do what I want to do the rest of the night before I go to bed. But typically, if it's not my night, what I'll do is I'll leave the room. My wife will take care. We alternate the duties. I didn't think we were going to spend too much time talking about this on today's show. We've only got 2 hours, and here I am talking about bedtime at the Lucero house. But anyway, I promise this is going somewhere. When my wife puts Asher to bed, I vacate the space so that Asher understands that it's bedtime. And I will go hole up in a room. And generally speaking, I will then pull up at whatever point the Royals game is in the evening. I'll pull it up on my phone, and I'll watch it on the FanDuel Sports Network app. I'll watch the Royals game. I couldn't do that last night. By the time I got done with bath time and got Asher handed off to my wife for bedtime, freaking game was over. The Royals lose last night in less than 2 hours. So maybe tonight they'll put up a little bit more resistance. They'd better. Their season is riding on it. So we'll get into some Royals baseball here on the show. Plenty of Chiefs to talk about on the show today. Sounds like just about best case scenario for Xavier Worthy as far as his injury. Prognosis is good for a speedy return, even if it's not this Sunday against the Eagles. We'll talk a little bit more about that matchup and how similar is it to the last time we saw these two teams play, which was, of course, Super Bowl 59, just in terms of the state of play, like what the Chiefs are going to have to do from their standpoint to win the game and to avoid the dreaded 0-2 start. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. He spoke to the media earlier today. Reed spoke. Hollywood Brown took the podium. But Mahomes talked, and I made the editorial decision with a little help from my friends. We'll bring you the Mahomes audio. So you'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. That's coming up here later on this hour on the show. Because Mahomes is, I think, more interesting to listen to in the midweek than Andy Reid. Even though Andy Reid usually goes longer on his Wednesday press conferences. And even though there was a very funny moment today when Andy Reid accidentally called Jalen Rose and then made a reference to his jump shot. I thought that was very funny. But Mahomes only gets the podium generally once a week. So you're getting all of his residual thoughts from the previous game, all of his thoughts about the week to come. And I was fascinated to hear what Patrick had to say today, because that was a game in which it was all on his shoulders, and not necessarily by choice, not because nothing else was working. It was because nothing else, there was no other option for the Chiefs. It had to be Mahomes. It had to be him being Superman, and he almost pulled it off. If they could have gotten one more stop, let's say the Chiefs stopped the Chargers on that 3rd and 14. Would you bet against the Chiefs going down and winning that game? We've seen them do it so many times. So Mahomes spoke today, and we'll play that audio for you, most of it anyway, coming up here in just a little bit. It's also Wednesday on the show, which means it's Wildcat Wrap-Up Wednesday. We'll have Tim Fitzgerald join us for what should be a sunshiny and rainbow-filled conversation about the state of Kansas State football. That's coming up bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, our Wildcat Wrap-Up with Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com. Also in that hour, I wanted to do a little research and figure out if my hypothesis is right, that most of Kansas State's failings this season in their 2 losses to FBS competition have been very specifically and almost entirely traceable back to performance on 3rd and 4th down. And the numbers actually kind of bear that out. And so what does that mean? What does it mean where these specific scenarios have been the reason K-State is 0-2 in FBS competition this season, and very nearly 0-3 overall? We will talk about that a little bit later on in the show today. We'll do What Is Wrong With You as well. Again, we're off at 5 today. We want to hear from you throughout the program. Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. You can hit us up on the text line throughout the program. 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the YouTube chat. If you are watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk is the name of that channel. And there is a live chat feature that you can access if you're logged into YouTube, whether you're watching on a browser, you're watching in an app on your mobile device, your tablet. Hop on in the chat. Interact with your fellow listeners. Interact with yours truly as we go along today. See, Christopher's in with one of the Bard's better poems of the season, I have to say. We're going to get to that here right off the rip. Mark H. is in. Ryan in today. Ryan K., appreciate seeing you. Look forward to hearing from more of you throughout the program in the YouTube chat and, of course, on the text line. That is 785-272-9429. We actually start with the text line. We'll start with a text from the 785 that we got. Sometimes we get texts in anticipation of the program. We'll get a text the night before a show or a handful of minutes before the show in anticipation. The thought is on the tip of your tongue, and you want to make sure that I see it when I pull up the text line on the show. We appreciate that we are top of mind and that you want us to hear what you have to say on 580 Sports Talk so that others may hear what it is that you have to say. And I think, unfortunately, that our texter from the 785 has probably hit nail on head with this proclamation following last night's 2-0 Royals loss to the Cleveland Guardians. Royals are down for the count. Hard to argue. The playoff odds, as of today, down to 2.8%, according to Baseball Reference, 3.2%, according to Fangraphs. Remember, we were up around 30% coming out of that homestand with the Rangers. We were coming up 1-3 chance for the Royals to make the playoffs. Now we're about 1-50. That's the state of things right now. Christopher, as I said, the Bard with one of the better Royals poems of the year, one of the better Royals limericks of the year. It's on the YouTube. I'll share it. With the doom of the Royals impending, the hearts of their fans they are rending. It's a story grown old with the bats fallen cold. Any hope I still have's just pretending. Very well spoken, Christopher. That game last night, as I mentioned, over before it got dark outside. Noah Cameron played his role in that. Noah Cameron was awesome last night. It's as good as he's been, really. And shows that the Royals have done well, not overextending him, managing his workload, but keeping him fresh. For him to deliver a start like that when the Royals needed a start like that, not just in terms of the quality, but in terms of the length. We haven't seen Noah Cameron give length like that in a while, and he pitches 7 innings, and he was outstanding in those 7 innings. Joey Cantillo was just a lot better. And he was a lot better against an offense that has absolutely hit the skids. So far in the month of September, the Royals as a team are hitting 194 with a 276 on base and a 322 slug. That's the whole team since the calendar flipped to the final month of the regular season. And if you want to go back further than that, because really this all started once that road trip through Detroit and Chicago began. A road trip where the Royals got a totally acceptable 3-3 outcome. It was the loss of the home series to Detroit coming out of that, and then the loss of back-to-back games to the Angels that certainly began to show that the Royals were perhaps starting to wobble a bit. But if you want to go back to the start of that road trip, 17 games since the Royals had the Mariners in their crosshairs. They were the last team out. They had passed Texas. They had passed Cleveland. They had passed Tampa Bay, and none of those teams felt like any kind of a threat. In the last 17 games, the Royals as a team are hitting 227 with a 297 on base and a 370 slug. And other than Salvador Perez, their big guns have been mostly fine in this stretch. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr.'s missed some time, but he's been the Royals' best everyday hitter in this stretch. Maikel Garcia is struggling to get on base. His batting average has dipped in this stretch, but the power, he leads the Royals in home runs over those last 17 games. So the power's been there for Maikel. He's been productive as a hitter in that way. Vinny Pasquantino's been right around average as a hitter, just kind of average, cooled off from that power surge that he was on through that Chicago and Detroit road trip. Salvador Perez is 9 for his last 60. More about him in a second. Randall Grichuk isn't hitting. Nick Lofton isn't hitting. A lot of the guys who are in the lineup every day are struggling. The lefty-heavy nature of the lineup there for a handful of days while Jonathan India was out was hurting them against left-handed starters. And even though they were able to flip it a little bit against Cantillo last night, you can see it didn't matter either. This feels like a team on its last legs. And there's only so much you can ask a team to endure over the course of 162 games and still find them standing. It's why it's the best regular season in sports, because it is truly a marathon. And it's not like the NBA where you're going to load manage your stars. You might load manage a pitcher or two if they're a young pitcher, but you're not like, we're gonna sit Bobby Witt Jr. for a whole series against the Angels, or this is a day game after a night game. We're just gonna go with an entirely Sunday lineup. Some managers do that. I think that's failure on their part. I applaud Matt Quatraro for largely avoiding the old Sunday lineup as the manager of this team. But after 162 games, the cream rises to the top. Always, the cream rises to the top. And everybody else who isn't quite good enough for whatever reason, you will see them fall back to the pack and miss out. And the Royals appear to be that team that is falling back to the pack, one of those teams that is falling back to the pack. Now, look, I've seen crazy stuff happen in September. We've seen teams that were all but dead go on crazy winning streaks out of nowhere and steal playoff berths. I will not begin the process of shoveling dirt on a grave if there is not a tomb in it. There is not a casket in it. That's the word I'm looking for, casket. So I'm not there yet. 2.8% chance is still a chance, right? If you learned anything from Dumb and Dumber, it should be that. That and the Swallows returning to Capistrano. But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It looks like this team is kind of out of gas. And like I said, there's but so much a team can endure. And the loss for 3.5 months of Cole Reagans, the loss down the stretch of Seth Lugo and his ineffectiveness as the most important guy in the rotation for a solid month before that. The injury to the back end of the bullpen, Hunter Harvey, when he got to pitch this year was electric, but he never got to pitch because he was always hurt. And that overextended the back end of the bullpen, and it overextended. It asked more of the middle of the Royals relief than at times they were able to provide. And Bobby Witt Jr. missing 3 games in this stretch, and maybe not quite being 100% is obviously costly as well. It's a lot to endure. And the fact that the Royals are still here, the fact that they have even the barest chance of making the playoffs, even with all that has gone wrong, because you have to say, it's not as though nothing has gone right for the Royals, but if you look at it as two opposite sides of the ledger, there's a lot more that has been what you would call a worst case outcome or close than you would say was a best case outcome, a 90th percentile outcome. It's like Maikel Garcia, Noah Cameron in one category, but a whole bunch of other guys in that worst case or below 50th percentile outcome bucket. Reagans, Lugo, you put Bobby Witt Jr. there. Certainly Jack Caglione you'd put there. Jonathan India you'd put there. The Royals have endured a lot, and the offense has been subpar. It now has fallen back to being the worst in the American League. The fact that they're still in contention despite all that, even though they are on the very fringes and time is running out, I think that actually says quite a bit about who this team is, about who their leaders are, about the coaches and the manager in that clubhouse. They've ridden a lot of storms out this year. They might not be able to endure one more because they're in the middle of one right now. They got to turn this road trip around. They got to do it in a hurry. They got to do it starting tonight. 5 o'clock pregame, 5:40 first pitch in Cleveland. And if they're going to do it, it's a bullpen game. Jonathan Bolin will start. Again, Michael Wacha on the concussion injured list for 7 days. Apparently it was an accident that happened away from the baseball field, so hope Michael's all right. But it's going to have to be a bullpen game for the Royals. They're going to have to ham and egg their way to a win today. They've been able to do that time and again this season. They're going to have to do it tonight, get back on the right foot, find that offense before it's too late, because the fat lady isn't singing, but she's doing all the vocal exercises, rubber baby buggy bumpers, all that good stuff, getting the tongue loosened, because it won't be long before she's singing at this rate. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs quarterback spoke to the media at One Arrowhead Drive earlier today. We'll get his thoughts on the loss to the Chargers and a look ahead to Sunday and the Super Bowl rematch against the Eagles from QB1. That's when we return. Plus, still to come on the show, some more thoughts on Chiefs-Eagles, K-State and the money downs. Plus, Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com. It's a shortened show today. We're off at 5, so we're flying through it. Long way to go, short time to get there. We're glad you're with us on 580 Sports Talk. 328 on 580 Sports Talk, just getting underway on a shortened edition of the show on this Wednesday, off at 5 o'clock for Royals baseball. Chiefs hit the podium today. It is Wednesday, the Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and the Eagles at Arrowhead Stadium. The home opener for the Chiefs in 2025 is on Sunday, and among those we heard from on the podium, the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Here's what he had to say about Friday's loss in Brazil, this upcoming Sunday's matchup against the Eagles, and more from Patrick Mahomes.
What do you see the differences, and do you have to just remind yourself, like, okay, that's in the past. We got this team to focus on this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's with every single game that you play. But this is a really good football team. I mean, there's no way around it. They're good at every aspect on defense and obviously on offense as well. And it's going to take our best football. And so you learn from the mistakes that you make. That's part of playing the game, is you learn from your failures. It's like you learn from the positive things that you do. And you try to come back and play better football this week. And it's going to take our best football to go out there and get a win.
How much did you feel Xavier just going down early really impacted what you guys want to do in that first half last week?
I think it's more just getting guys into the right spots. I mean, obviously you try to rep and give guys opportunities at every single receiver position, but there's limited reps. And so when you have an injury, you have guys going in different spots that they haven't got those reps in before. But I thought the guys did well as the game went on of adjusting to that, stepping up and making plays. And I thought they did really good in that second half of giving us a chance to go out there and try to get a win.
How much on your own did you watch the Super Bowl in the weeks afterwards, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I watch every game after, so you have to learn from it. I mean, it sucks that you lose the game, but in order to progress and to be better next time, you have to watch it and learn from it. And so I don't know the exact amount of times, but you watch it, and then you watch it in the off season with the team and with the coaches, and then you watch it obviously this week as well. And so they had a great game plan. They played hard and did a great job of disrupting my timing. And so I have to learn from that, find ways to get the ball out of my hand, and then when the opportunities are there, I think that's something I did miss early in the game. Is there was opportunities to make plays, and you got to make those plays, because if you don't, they're not going to allow those opportunities again.
And when you're watching, is it just informational, or is it emotional, or in any way are you just kind of coldly breaking it down, or what's that feel like?
I think it's just more informational. I mean, the emotion kind of happens for about a week after the game, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have failures in this league. It's about how you respond from those failures. And that's something that's important in anyone's career. But for me, I got to continue to push to be even better so that I don't make those same mistakes whenever I get the opportunity to again.
If I'm understanding you correctly, based on the early portion of that game, are you trying to get yourself to be more comfortable with, like, maybe exposing some risk, taking some risk, being bolder earlier in games? Obviously, you can't, foresee Xavier's injury occurring, but is that one of the biggest takeaways? It's just being a little bit more bolder earlier in games?
I think just you got to pick and choose the right spots. I mean, I think you can't be too much one way or another. And so finding that right balance of attacking downfield, but still keeping the chains moving and not putting the ball in harmful situations is something that's important to every quarterback. And so I think at the end of last year, at certain points, I wasn't taking those chances that I could have. And so I try to do better at that going into this season and try to do better at that this last game. And obviously I'll keep working with that throughout my career, but it'll be important this week as much as any, because they have good players everywhere on that defense. And so it's about accepting that challenge and going out there and executing at a high level.
Patrick, just assess that level or that topic in the first game. I know the Chargers, the defense they played, forced some things. Mm-hmm. How would you just assess that aspect in that game?
I thought I did a good job for the most part. Obviously, they did good in the first half, missed a couple shots. But once I hit that one to Taekwon down the sideline towards halftime, I thought from then on I did a good job of kind of recognizing when to take shots, when to hit the stuff underneath, and just getting the ball out to guys and letting them make plays. And so just trying to do that faster so that we're not in that deficit. It will be important this week, especially with how they play football and how they can run the ball and throw the ball as well on their side of the football. So being better from the beginning and not just kind of as the game goes on.
How did your offensive line play, you think, as you look back at the tape from the other night?
So they did a good job. It's always tough when you're behind because the defensive line gets the pass rush and do their games and stunts and stuff like that. But I thought throughout the game they did a really good job against a really good defensive line, and that does a lot of good things. And so they'll continue to get better and better. They're young. They got a lot of experience to kind of gain from that first game, but now they'll have another challenge with a really good defensive line they're facing this week.
I know one of the big themes has been being flat, and how you guys came out flat. How much of it, though, is like
I mean, you also weren't effective, right? On either side of the ball, they were kind of getting the better of you. I mean, how much of that emotion comes from being successful, making a big play, getting a guy loose off the edge and sacking the other team's quarterback, or running one of your running backs running over 3 guys? Like, how much of that emotion comes from having plays that work on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. But I think in order to be great, you have to be able to bring that emotion when things aren't going well. I mean, anyone can be hyped whenever a big play happens. That's part of life in general. But whenever things not going your way, how are you going to respond? And I think that's important for championship teams, is being able to bring that energy whenever things aren't going your way, because it's not always going to be great. It's not always going to be winning by big scores. It's about responding to that moment and what that moment needs.
Patrick, there was a couple times bringing the energy that maybe didn't look great on TV. You know, Travis and Jawan talked a little bit in the game with Chris and Drew and all that stuff. You guys had a big, long flight back, been in the building now for a couple of days. What's the attitude of the team like right now with the big game ahead of you? And kind of,
yeah, I think guys are ready to go. You know, it's football. It's passionate. We love the game. I'd rather have guys that are passionate about it and want to win than the other way around. And we hold each other accountable. And I think at the end of the day, we know that we love each other. And then when you have that, you can hold each other accountable and then push forward to be even better that next time you step on the football field. And so there's no ill will anywhere. It's just a bunch of guys that want to win and want to do whatever they can to win. And so whenever that happens, sometimes passionate moments, outbursts and stuff happen. But at the end of the day, we love each other and we're going to push each other to be even better.
Patrick, just also related to the energy, did you come across anything that made you feel like, oh, this is why? I mean, does it add up in any way to you that why it was like that? And also, do you feel the need to speak to it this week to the guys?
No, I think guys understand. I don't know if you can pinpoint one reason or another. At the end of the day, that's in the past now. It's how can you just learn from it and be better the next time. And so we will have that mindset going into practice this week, try to prepare ourselves to play a good football team. And what better challenge than playing the reigning Super Bowl champions to see where we're at. And so I think guys will be ready to go and knowing that we all got to play our best if we want to find a way to win.
Matt, Patrick, you played a few of these Super Bowl rematches now. How are they different, than a regular game, especially playing one this early in the season?
I think you know the opponent. Even with the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl before and the games we've played in the regular seasons, we know that this is a really good football team, and we know that they have a lot of great football players. And so when you play the best of the best, you have to take your game to another level. And so it's not different in a sense of it's a Super Bowl rematch or anything like that. I think it's just different in the sense as you're playing the best of the best. And so how are you going to respond? How are you going to be even better and take your game to another level? And so I always think it's fun, playing the best and getting to see where you're at.
Speaking, how many you seen
like this?
I think if you're playing your first game at Arrowhead against the reigning Super Bowl champions, there's got to be some extra juice. I mean, it's our first home game. It should be a cool flyover. You get everything you need, so there's no reason you should come out flat this game.
Those drives there, it seems like you locked in a way to where it didn't matter the circumstance, situation, the play call. You're taking over this game and you're going to make it happen. Where does that mindset come from, and how do you lock in?
I think you just know you have to score whenever you're playing good football teams, and you're down. You have to make the play now. So you take a little bit more risk. You do a little bit different things you might not do early in the game, and so it's about finding that earlier. So that we don't get in that deficit. And so I just like winning. So whenever you're not winning, it's like sometimes you focus in even more because you want to try to find a way to do whatever you can to win.
Last two, Sam and then Nate. But you didn't get a lot of reps with Hollywood in training camp or preseason. Just wondered how that came out and just the benefit of how much you played with him in week one for what it would be moving forward now.
Yeah, I think you saw in the game. I think Hollywood just kind of got more and more comfortable as the game went on, and we asked him to do a lot of things. He kind of had to run his routes, Xavier's routes, and kind of all the in between. And so I thought he did a good job of recognizing what he needed to do, recognizing coverages, and making plays happen. And so he'll be big these next couple of weeks as we try to get Xavier back and get Rasheed back and everything like that. But it's something I think he's ready for.
That's one, Nate.
Two questions real quick, Pat. I know you have shown more physicality recently in games. Is that something that you actually trained in order to show off more this season? And do you feel like you have to be aggressive maybe because of the way teams might do how you move or how you operate near the sideline?
Yeah, I always brace for impact. I mean, I think that you have to protect yourself. But I think in this last game, I think we just needed the yards. We needed the ways to score the football, especially at that time in the game. And that's why I think people highlighted the one I got hit on the side, but I really wasn't running out of bounds really the whole second half. And so it's a long season, so I'll try to get back to running out of bounds as much as possible. But that's stuff that I usually do in the playoffs. So I'm just going to try to manage that throughout the season so I can be there for the playoffs.
So that was Patrick Mahomes, what he had to say earlier today at One Arrowhead Drive. We'll take a short time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, the latest on Xavier Worthy's status, plus what is similar and what is maybe different about these two teams. There's only 2 games ago for each of the Chiefs and the Eagles that they played each other last, but much can change in an offseason. What's different? What's the same going into Sunday's Super Bowl rematch? That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 3:43 on 580 Sports Talk. Just me today. I'm Dan, hanging out with you until 5 o'clock before Royals baseball. Chiefs Eagles on Sunday. It's a home opener for the Chiefs. It's a Super Bowl 59 rematch. You want to hear the Chiefs Radio Network broadcast of the game, you'll be able to hear it on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. Obviously, these two teams saw each other not long ago. Only one regular season game for both teams between Super Bowl 59 and this Week 2 meeting. Looking back at what we thought Super Bowl 59 was going to be and what we anticipated the keys to that matchup were going to be, I wouldn't say it's funny. Certainly, from the Chiefs' perspective, nothing about that game was funny. But it's interesting to look back sometimes and say, well, this is what we think is going to, because you get 2 weeks, right? You get 2 weeks between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. You can analyze and analyze to the point where you can almost overanalyze. And you think you got it all figured out by the time you get to the Friday before the game and you're doing a show like we do, or the Sunday of the game and you're giving predictions right before kickoff. And then the game happens and it blows a lot of your preconceived notions and expectations out of the water. The things that happened in Super Bowl 59 were that Jalen Hurts dealt with pressure better than he typically does. And I don't mean the pressure of a big game. I mean like pass rush pressures in that sense. Dealt with those better than he had dealt with them in many games in his career. It's why he walked away with Super Bowl MVP. And the Chiefs could not protect Patrick Mahomes. And really, the latter is the only thing that ended up mattering. The Chiefs could not protect Patrick Mahomes. Their offense was rendered non-functional, and they were down 40-6. So that was, in the end, the key to the game. The Eagles bludgeoning the Chiefs in the trenches. Their offensive line was better. Their defensive line was better. On paper today, you would still say that is the case. You would still say that the Eagles' offensive line is better than the Chiefs' offensive line. You would still say that the Eagles' defensive line, despite some notable defections from last year's roster, Milton Williams, who was awesome in that game, is no longer an Eagle. Josh Sweat, who could have won the MVP of the game, is no longer an Eagle. Zadarius Smith is an Eagle. That's new. But it's a different pass rush group. It's not the same pass rush group. It's probably not as deep. But also, it will be going up against an actual left tackle and not a left guard doing his best trying to play left tackle. So there's that. The terms of, what is the word I am looking for? The terms of engagement in the trenches are going to be a little different in that regard and should, even if slightly, benefit the Chiefs. Should also benefit the Chiefs that they will know going into this game in a way that they did not and could not have known going into the Chargers game that Xavier Worthy isn't going to play. I promise you the latest on Xavier Worthy. Here it is. No surgery. That's the best possible news. The dislocated shoulder that Xavier Worthy has does not need surgery, which means that his absence is not likely to be a long-term absence. If it were going to be an IR situation, it would probably already be an IR situation for Xavier Worthy. Nate Taylor of ESPN reporting today, in fact, that internally there is belief from the Chiefs that Worthy can be back week 4 against the Ravens. Didn't practice today. Don't think there's any scenario in which he plays on Sunday. Obviously, after that, it's the Giants, and then you have the Eagles week 4. And Nate Taylor's reporting is that that is a likely return day. And if Worthy only has to miss 2 weeks with that injury, functionally 3 weeks because he only played 3 snaps on Friday night, that's a win. That's about a best case scenario for the Chiefs in that regard. But that's where we're at. It does not at least appear to be a worst case scenario type of injury. And that is a relief. That is certainly a relief. So the Chiefs know going into Sunday, they are down. And we don't think about them being without Jalen Royals because they never actually had Jalen Royals, but you can make the case that the Chiefs are without 3 of their top 4 wide receivers. It depends on where you place Jalen Royals vis-a-vis Juju Smith-Schuster in the pecking order. I think Royals is better than Juju. Like this stage of his career, Juju. Maybe Juju's familiarity with the offense and veteraniness pushes him up the depth chart. I know that's not a word. Ride with me. But you could argue that 3 of Kansas City's 4 best wide receivers are out for Sunday and were out for the previous Friday and will be out potentially for longer. Don't know about Jalen Royals. They haven't placed him on IR. So I'm sure there's still some hope that he can be back sooner rather than later as well. But the Chiefs at least can be prepared for this. So instead of on the fly asking Tyquan Thornton to do a bunch of the Xavier Worthy speedy guy stuff, they can drill Tyquan Thornton doing that stuff this week, and maybe it gives Patrick Mahomes and Tyquan Thornton a chance to get their timing down, to get a little bit more on the same page, because they weren't quite in sync with each other and missed on a couple of plays against the Chargers as a result. But I expect the Chiefs to be able to have success moving the ball through the air. Number one, because of who their quarterback is. But number two, there is something different in the Eagles secondary. They are diminished in the secondary from last season. I know Cooper DeJean's back, had the pick 6. They still got some really good players back there. They also have Adoree Jackson. And maybe they won't for a whole lot longer. Maybe he's already in the process of being benched. Who knows? But the Cowboys in week 1 picked on Adoree Jackson relentlessly. That's the weak link in the secondary. And I don't know that the Eagles had a weak link. They had rookies last year, but all the DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, all those guys were good. They were really good right away. There wasn't really a scab that you could pick at and exploit in the way that it looked like Adoree Jackson might be that kind of player. Now, again, maybe 1 week was enough of that. They're going to bench him, and you're not going to see much of him. You're going to see Ja'Cory Bennett instead. But if Ja'Cory Bennett were real good, wouldn't he have beaten out Adoree Jackson for the playing time in week 1, even though he was new to the team, acquired it in a trade during the training camp? So there's a spot, and I am sure that the Chiefs will be looking towards that spot on the Eagles defense and looking to exploit that portion of the Eagles defense. The Cowboys moved the ball on them. And even with, like, the Chiefs don't have a healthy wide receiver right now who's as good as CeeDee Lamb. They don't have an injured wide receiver as good as CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the 3 to 5 best receivers in the league. But other than that, I would say that the Chiefs' skill position talent and offensive line talent compares pretty favorably with Dallas. And Dallas moved the ball just about at will for the entirety of that first half of Thursday night's game. So I don't think that the Chiefs go into that game thinking it's going to look like it did in Super Bowl 59. I think that the Eagles, and this happens to every champion, when guys go into free agency, they get that bonus credit on the open market for having contributed to a championship, and that makes that championship roster just a little bit worse on the margins. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think that's the best roster in the NFC. But I don't think it's quite as deep. I think that there are some weaker points on it than there were going into the big game last year. The one thing, though, that remains the same. Chiefs are really good against the run against the Chargers on Friday. They can defend the run, as Steven Ruiz put it on The Ringer today. He's got a piece out about what's real, what's not from week 1. It is not very high on the Chiefs. It declares the dynasty over, in fact. But I'm using an analogy from the article, even if I don't agree with the article. The idea of being able to stop the run in a phone booth. Between the tackles, the Chiefs did a nice job against the Chargers and their power run game. I suspect they can have similar success as they did in Super Bowl 59, slowing to the extent that it's possible to slow a talent like Saquon Barkley. The 2 big keys for the Chiefs will be this. They have to get pressure, much better pressure than they did against the Chargers, but history has shown, even if he was great against the blitz in Super Bowl 59, history has shown if you pressure Jalen Hurts, he can make mistakes. He's not as good a quarterback under duress as he is with a clean pocket. And no quarterback is, but the difference is more pronounced over the course of his career for Hurts. You've got the career-long sample size. I'll trust that more than the one-game sample that Super Bowl 59 was. And then the other thing, you got to stay out of 3rd and short, 4th and short. Stay out of tush-push range. Make the Eagles convert 3rd, medium, 3rd, and long, and punt the ball back to you. That's how you beat them. And this is all doable stuff. The Chiefs don't have to turn into the best possible version of themselves. They just need to be a little better. And I think they'll be more desperate. And that's something that we'll get to as we go through this week. We talk about the dreaded 0-2 start. You know who would like to avoid that very much? A team with the kind of pride and championship equity that the Chiefs have. We'll take a quick break, come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Speaking of the tush push, because you know we're going to see it on Sunday at some point. If we don't see it, that's a really good sign. Chiefs probably won big if we don't see a single tush push. Do you know that Play has a sponsor now? I don't think we talked about this on the program. Did you know that the tush push has a sponsor, a corporate sponsor, and that sponsor is the company Dude Wipes? The Dude Wipes tush push. Do I have to call it that? I'm not getting a penny from Dude Wipes. I wish I didn't know that. I also wish I didn't know that apparently there is a Dude Wipes pumpkin spice scent. You get pumpkin spice Dude Wipes for the fall. And apparently they're called Dumpkin Spice. If you go to the Dude Wipes website, and that's what, maybe I should be getting paid by Dude Wipes. This is sounding like a paid advertisement. Yeah. Pumpkin spice butt wipes for men. Finally, a butt wipe for men. Truly disturbing. Truly disturbing. There are some things I feel like we would be better off without. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, K-State on the money downs, and Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Second and final hour of this shortened Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero with you until 5 today on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in, thanks for being here. We appreciate you being part of the audience and talking some sports with us today here on 580 Sports Talk. If you would like to join the conversation, the text line is open. 785-272-9429 is that number. That is 785-272-9429. Also, if you are watching on the YouTube stream, hop in the chat. Want to hear from you. Want to hear your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns. Or just talk amongst yourselves. That's always fun when you guys do that, too, in the YouTube chat. We may not always jump in, but fun to follow along, see what you guys are talking about. That's our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. Hop in the chat as we're live. You can interact with your fellow listeners, interact with your hosts, host singular today. And if you have not ever checked out the show on YouTube, what better time than now? You know, the weather's going to turn here in a little while. It's going to be colder. You may be spending more time inside than outside. Why not fire up the show on your phone or on your tablet or on your web browser on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk? Then you can look at us. Maybe you don't even know what we look like. Wouldn't that be something? You could see if our faces and our statures match our voices here on 580 Sports Talk. It is amazing how often I have gotten that. You know, people will say, you don't really look like your voice. And I never quite know what to make of that. Like, am I being insulted? Am I being complimented? Or is it just being stated as a matter of fact? Like, wow, you've got a really big voice, but you're only like 5'10-ish. 5'10 on a good day is what I like to say. So check out the YouTube show if you have not before. Go subscribe if you have not already. And speaking of subscribers, 2 announcements. 1 week from today, so Wednesday, September 17th, mark your calendars. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wierzinski, arm wrestling. It's happening. We got to 800 subscribers. We promised you once we got there, Brendan and I were going to arm wrestle. We are going to arm wrestle next Wednesday on the show. Set it, lock it in. Wednesday, September 17th, I arm wrestle Brendan. We'll do left hand and right-handed because he's right-handed and I'm a lefty. So we'll see if there's any difference or distinction. Make sure nobody has an unfair advantage. Not sure what we'll do for a rubber match, to be completely honest. No idea yet. But that's coming. Spencer Dupuis will provide the play-by-play for everybody listening over the air on 580 FM 104.9, 580WIBW.com. But you will be able to watch live as Brendan and I arm wrestle for bragging rights, 580 Sports Talk bragging rights. You made that happen. 800 of you made that happen because you subscribed to the YouTube channel. Now we're looking for, and at last check, it was 87 more of you to get us to 900. Because here's what we are going to do at 900 subscribers. I teased this yesterday. We've all agreed to this. At 900 subscribers, we will take a day's worth of listener submissions of songs that are popular, songs that are radio appropriate, and we will put those songs in a hat, and all 3 of us, myself, Brendan, and Spencer, will draw a song selected by the listeners, and we will perform a karaoke version of that song live on the air. We will sing to you if you get us to 900. Now, I understand that may come off as more of a threat than a fun promise, and I apologize if it does. But get us to 900 subscribers, and maybe you'll find out that my singing voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus. Maybe you'll find that out for yourself. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not yet. It took us some time to get to 800, but once we built momentum, it was like an unstoppable snowball rolling downhill. Let's build some momentum and get to 900, so we'll sing for you. And then we'll figure out something even bigger for 1,000. But let's get to 900 first, yeah? Go subscribe. YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Click that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. And it moves us one day closer to 580 Sports Talk karaoke. And again, wrestling, arm wrestling coming on Wednesday. So that's those are the announcements. Those are the show announcements for today. We've set a date for the arm wrestling next Wednesday, and we've set a stretch goal for 900 subscribers, 580 Sports Talk karaoke. Anyhow, let's get back to business. We got one more hour today. Royals baseball coming up, 5 o'clock pregame, 5:40 first pitch. It'll be Jonathan Bolin who gets the nod on the bump for the Royals, part of a bullpen day today with Michael Wacha on the IL. Logan Allen will start for Cleveland, another left-handed arm for the Royals to deal with. They did not deal particularly well with Joey Cantillo last night in a 2-0 loss that took all of an hour and 58 minutes. But the Royals will try again tonight with Michael Garcia leading off at third base, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at first, Salvador Perez behind the plate. Jonathan India will DH in bat fifth, then Adam Frazier at second base, Randall Grichuk in left, Jack Caglione in right batting eighth, and Kyle Isbell batting ninth in center. I didn't get to it when I was talking about the Royals earlier, but Caglione and Carter Jensen quietly and in a small sample size have looked pretty good at the plate since they got called up to start September. Their batting averages aren't pretty, but they're drawing walks, they're getting on base, and they're hitting the ball hard. Carter Jensen's average exit velocity on his 6 batted balls as a major leaguer is just shy of 100 miles per hour. That's average exit velocity. You're going to be seeing a lot of those two guys next year. A lot of those two guys. And Caglione's spot is pretty obvious. He's going to be the opening day right fielder next year, and he should be. For Carter Jensen, does Matt Quatrero have the guts to make Salvador Perez the full-time DH and just go with Jensen behind the dish? Or at the very least, go with Jensen more often behind the dish than we saw like Freddie Fermin get to play, so that Salvador Perez maybe doesn't wear down in another September. This is all assuming they're going to pick up his option, which, come on, they're going to pick up the captain's option. He'll be back next year. But maybe a little less of him behind the plate. Maybe a little less of him against tough right-handed pitchers with Jensen being a lefty. Maybe that'll be a net benefit for the Royals lineup in 2026. But we're a long way from doing 2025 postmortem and 2026 prognosticating. Anyway, just throwing that out there. That's coming up. 5 o'clock pregame, 5:40 first pitch. Still to come on the program today, we got another round of What Is Wrong With You. 2 new stories. We'll also got Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com joining us at the bottom of this hour for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. It might not be the most uplifting version of the Wildcat Wrap-Up we've ever done, but Fitz will join us here in about 20-odd minutes, and we will talk about all things K-State. Speaking of the Wildcats, that's where I wanted to begin this hour. Because my theory, my working theory, is that Kansas State's problems are largely down to their performance on 3rd and 4th down, or what I call them the money downs. And I'm not the only one who calls them that, but the money downs, the plays that decide games, the plays that win on the margins. Because if you look at the broad stroke numbers for Kansas State, just the box score numbers, Kansas State's offense is averaging 6.3 yards per play. And they are allowing just 4.4 yards per play. Now, neither of those is spectacular on its face. Neither of those ranks particularly highly among the 136 Division I teams. But also, we're at a stage in the season where there are a lot of teams that have played like 2 FCS teams. Well, not functionally 2 FCS teams in Texas Tech's case. But your level of competition through 2 games can vary pretty widely, right? Like, we can agree there's a difference between the 2 FBS teams that K-State has played, a top 25 team in Iowa State and an Army team that won 12 games last year, and the FBS competition that, let's say, well, not even FBS competition, because like Arizona this weekend, the K-State's opponent on Friday, they played Hawaii and Weber State. So the stats from Arizona's 2 games and the stats from K-State's 2 FBS games are going to look really different, right? So if you go and look for opponent-adjusted numbers, and they're out there, Brian Fremeau does what are called FEI numbers, the Fremeau Efficiency Index, if you're really into getting into the weeds. His opponent-adjusted efficiency metrics have K-State still, right now, as a top 30 offense and a top 25 defense in the country. And again, you're going to think that's insane. Well, again, consider the level of competition that Kansas State has faced relative to the level of competition that maybe some other teams have played against. And no, that's not to say that nobody's played hard teams or that K-State has played the hardest schedule, but relative to a lot of their Big 12 peers, K-State has played a tougher schedule. Like, we can agree that Iowa State and Army is a bit more of a formidable start to the season than Bethune-Cookman and whoever the hell else it was that Texas Tech beat. Right? Like, we can agree. We can agree on that, right? However we feel about, because all of this is an attempt to solve the big question. Is Kansas State bad, or are they just playing badly? Because there's a difference, right? There can be a difference. Bad teams are bad teams because they play badly all the time. But a good team can play badly for a stretch. A good team can play badly at inopportune times of football games and have it cost them. Was Kansas a bad football team last year? By and large, no. They weren't good, but that didn't make them bad. They were kind of an average football team that didn't execute in some inopportune moments, and it cost them bowl eligibility. They ended up going 5-7. But I don't think I'm ready to declare Kansas State definitively, capital B, bad. Parker Fleming is a college football statistician. He posts on X as Stats-O-War and runs the website CFB Graphs, which keeps a lot of the stats that you can see for the NFL. Stats like pass rush win rate, win expectancy, EPA per play, success rate, that kind of stuff. And every week he puts out a graph that asks the question, did we really get beat that bad? And what it is your net success rate in a game. Like, were you more successful on a down-to-down basis? And we talked about success rate. If you're a longtime listener to this show, you remember we brought that up a ton with the Chiefs last year because they weren't explosive, but they were successful. A successful play is 40% of the yards needed on first and whatever length. So a 4-yard gain on 1st and 10 is a successful play, just like a 12-yard gain is a successful play. Half the yardage necessary on a 2nd down, so on 2nd and 6, a 3-yard play is successful, the same as a 20-yard play would be. And a 3rd down conversion or a 4th down conversion is a successful play. So 3rd and 1, a 2-yard play is a success, the same that a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown would be a success. So obviously, there are different levels of success, but success is success. It's just one way to look at the down-to-down business of moving the football. Kansas State has been better at that than Iowa State and Army in their 2 losses. They have had a better success rate than both Iowa State and Army. Okay, neat. They don't hang banners for that kind of stuff. They don't give you extra credit. They don't give you partial wins. Why should we care? Why we should care is because, again, we are trying to drive at the answer to a question: are they bad or just playing badly? And my hunch is that it is closer to the latter. And this is where I dug into the numbers, and I think I'm right. And I think I'm right in particular about 3rd and 4th down. I went and looked through the game logs for each of the 3 K-State games so far this season. 3rd down distances and conversions, and 4th down distances and conversions. Kansas State, it will not shock you to learn, has been quite bad on 3rd down. Offensively, they are 12 for 35. That makes them 100th best nationally out of 136 teams in 3rd down conversion percentage. They're 12 of 35 on 3rd down. That reeks. K-State last year was about middle of the pack nationally. I think they were in the 60s somewhere, maybe 63rd. They are 100th in the country in 3rd down conversions on offense this year. And a big part of that has been, 1, a lot of 3rd and long, and 2, haven't been very good on third and short. Of those 35 third down conversions, 9 of them have been 3rd and 3 or less. Those are the ones you think every time you got to be able to pick up. You got to be able to get 3 yards, right? 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's the bare minimum for a running play. You got to be able to get 3, right? 3rd and 3 or less, K-State is 3 for 9 converting those. 3 for 9. But that also means that 26 of their other 35 third downs have been 4 yards or longer, and 11 of those have been 10 or more yards. Nearly a third of your third downs have been 10 or more. Those are hard. That's a tough situation to put your offense in. K-State is 3 and 11 in third and long. Third and medium, third and fourth and 9, they're pretty average. You're about 40% on that. 6 for 15. If you convert 40% of your third downs, that's about average in a given year. But K-State, not good offensively on third down and really not good on third and short. K-State's opponents. Now, broadly, this may surprise you. K-State has been okay defensively, 73rd in the country, so middle of the pack-ish on third down. They're 18 of 50 officially on getting stops, or rather, the opponent is 18 of 50, but really call it 18 of 49 because one of those third downs was the 3rd and 22 when Army was just trying to run out the clock on Saturday. Don't count that one. Throw that one out. But K-State's opponents on third and short, they've had 16 third and 3 or less this year. They're 10 for 16 converting third and short. 10 for 16. Now, that means K-State's been really good, particularly in third and medium. K-State's defense on third and medium, holding opponents to 4 for 20. That's pretty good. But third and 3 or less, it's been close to automatic. 10 for 16. Better than 50% that K-State's opponents are converting. It's 63%, in fact. 63% success rate on third and short. K-State is at 33%. And obviously the fourth down numbers, those are pretty easy to distinguish as well. K-State's 5 of 9 on fourth down this year. Excellent. Their opponents are 10 for 12. And in particular, Iowa State being 3 for 3, helped them win the game, helped them ice the game, because one of those fourth down conversions was the one that ensured that K-State's offense could not decide the game. And Navy was 6 for Army. I wrote Navy. I don't know why. Army was 6 of 7 on fourth down conversions. And those conversions, they were 6 for 6 after they missed their first one. Those conversions helped keep the Kansas State offense from getting on the field and deciding the game. I would love to tell K-State fans that this is the kind of thing you would expect would even out over the course of the season. Like ball in play luck for a particularly unlucky offensive batter. What am I speaking? Offensive language. What language am I speaking? An offensive player in baseball, you would expect their luck on balls in play to even out over time. Sometimes it doesn't, but you would expect it to. I don't think that third and fourth down success is the kind of thing that necessarily evens out. I think it might just be the kind of thing that you're good at or you're not good at. And Kansas State does not appear to be particularly good at this. Like I talked about on yesterday's or Monday's show, Kansas State doesn't have the kind of studs on the offensive line that make third or fourth and short automatic. And they don't have the kind of studs on the defensive line that make third down and short or fourth down and short stops feel particularly probable. This, to me, is a function of them not quite having enough in the trenches. So, no, I don't necessarily think that K-State's luck is going to turn on third and fourth down. But you can make it matter less if you're Kansas State. You can make it matter less that you might not be built for the third and short conversion or the third and short or fourth and short stop defensively. And it all comes down to splash plays, explosive plays, picking up first downs on first down, picking up first downs on second down, putting yourself in a 2nd and 1 or a 2nd and 3, more so than you put yourself in a 3rd and 3 out of a 2nd and 10 situation. Turning the other team over, sacks, tackles for loss, those kinds of plays. Put teams behind the sticks. Keep your opponent out of 4th down situations where they consider going for it. You can make your deficiencies in a certain area matter less. And that, I think, is where K-State stands when it comes to the money downs. They're just going to have to get better at staying out of the 3rd and short situations defensively and the 4th down situations. And they're going to have to do a better job staying out of 3rd and short offensively, at least until they start running the ball better in those situations, which, again, K-State's been good on 4th down, 5 for 9 on 4th down. So if there's any number I expect to improve, it would probably be K-State's offense on 3rd and short. But if you're not going to be a great power running team, fine. Get first downs on 2nd down. And, hey, you know it's awful tough to stop on those 3rd and shorts? Just ask the K-State defense about this. Running the quarterback. Just some food for thought. We'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald about that and a whole bunch more K-State stuff here in a little bit. But first, we'll take a timeout. Come back with What is Wrong with You next on 580 Sports Talk. What is Wrong with You time on 580 Sports Talk. And joining us, can only drop by for a little bit today for What is Wrong with You, is our pal, Spencer Dupuis. Hi, Spencer. Well, we're glad you're here for What is Wrong with You. We will let you begin with your story today. Our champion, in case you've forgotten, for the week presently, Or yesterday's winners, the Fragrant Felons, 3 guys who stole about $2,000 worth of perfume in Goleta, California. Lovely area. Shout out to Goleta Beach. Shout out to Cal Taco and Moby Dick's. And man, I love Santa Barbara, one of my favorite cities in the world. 3 people stole about $2,000 worth of perfume and cologne from an Ulta Beauty. And when cops pulled over the car, they knew they had the right one because the car reeked of cologne and perfume. So the Fragrant Felons, I would also accept Fragrant Foul, were our champions from yesterday. They are our current winners. We'll see if somebody can knock them off. Spencer, what story do you have today? Yes.
Where they eventually spotted the Bronco leaving the store and pulled it over for a traffic stop. During the traffic stop, deputies found numerous gift cards, credit cards with various names that did not match the men inside. A concealed firearm, controlled substances. According to the sheriff's office, all 4 men were arrested and taken to the Rappahannock Regional Jail where they were booked on dozens of charges and were held without bail.
So it sounds like these guys had stolen a bunch of credit cards and tried to buy gift cards with the stolen credit cards.
Yes, a fraud scheme.
Yes. 4 gentlemen, very coordinated.
They were so coordinated. They're like, let's hit all these Wawa stores. And guess what? That's what got them behind bars.
Yeah, you got to mix up your...
You got to wait some time, maybe.
Mix up your hustle, right?
Yeah.
Like, try a Sheets just to throw them off the scent.
There's definitely Sheets in that area.
Are you a Wawa guy or a Sheets guy?
Sheets.
Okay.
Because there were Sheets where I went to college. There were Sheets in the last place I worked.
Sure.
There were Sheets where I grew up. So, you can get that. They used to have that $2 for $1 hot dog deal.
Oh, man.
Hashtag inflation no longer.
Damn inflation. Anyway,
used to hit after the bars.
For my story today, we're going to international waters, kind of. A man was arrested and charged with a federal crime last weekend after allegedly leaping off a Royal Caribbean cruise ship near Puerto Rico to avoid paying off a gambling debt to the cruise line. Jay Gonzalez Diaz jumped into the water near the port of San Juan at around 9:15 a.m. on Sunday after the ship returned from Barbados. He fled the ship during a U.S. Customs and Border Protection inspection, and he was rescued and brought to shore by someone passing by on a jet ski. The cruise ship had departed San Juan on August 31st. Officers with CBP later located Gonzalez Diaz near the Puerto Rico Capitol building and arrested him. When he was found, he was carrying $14,000 in cash, over $14,600 in cash, 2 phones, and 5 IDs. The joke is the gambling debt he owed, $16,000. He could have paid off most of it. He could have said, hey, look, I got this. I know I'm short $1,400. What can I do? Like, I'll go scrub some toilets on the next cruise. Let me make it good. He was so close to being able to pay off his gambling debt.
Yeah.
He was accused of attempting to avoid monetary reporting requirements when traveling into the U.S. He could face a fine of up to $250,000 or a maximum 5-year prison sentence or both. So that's very funny to me that he's went overboard. He had a gambling debt, didn't want to pay it, and his thought was, I'm just going to jump off this ship.
Yeah.
Nobody will find me because they don't know my name because I got 5 IDs and 2 phones. I think that wins today over the fraud story. I do not think it beats our Fragrant Felons. Just the idea of the cop walking up to the vehicle and just being taken aback by the odor of all of these different smell goods, perfume and cologne, being like, well, we definitely have the right car.
Yeah.
That's good police work, Lou. The Fragrant Felons advance on what is wrong with you. When we come back, It's Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. We are joined on the Filling Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. He joins us every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. Fitz and the crew cover the Cats at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today. Make sure you can access all of the Inside Cats info all year long. And subscribe to GoPowerCat's YouTube channel as well. And subscribe to ours at 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, you could play that football game between K-State and Army 1,000 times, and I'm not sure it goes the exact same way that it did. I don't think I've ever seen a football game quite like one that sees one team only touch the ball twice in an entire half of football. It was the platonic ideal of Army football, and they won it. And I think first and foremost, you kind of have to tip your cap to them, right? I mean, as frustrating as it is for Kansas State to lose that game, Army was basically perfect in the second half.
They laid out a plan of attack and executed it perfectly from the last 2.5 minutes of the first half till the end of the game. I mean, it was brilliant. And you're right, because you change one thing about that game and it might go a totally different direction. For example, if K-State doesn't have the kickoff return for a touchdown, but instead goes on a 6-7 play drive and scores a touchdown, I think they win because the defense gets some rest. But Army was clearly the better team. the more motivated team, the better coached team. And their quarterback epitomizes everything Kansas State is missing. He ran the ball 41 times. He was a battering ram, and he always won the battle with the tackler. Almost always. And on fourth down, he won that battle. If you try to take him down, he was getting the first down. I think that's really what was most difficult for K-State fans to watch was their team is clearly not tough, and they haven't seen that brand of football in a very long time in these parts.
I think a lot of that stems from play in the trenches. We were just talking about this. I was looking at the numbers, third down and fourth down this season. K-State, by my accounting, is only 3 of 9 on third and short this season, 3 yards or fewer, but their opponents are 10 for 16 on those third and shorts. When you add that to the 10 for 12 that K-State's opponents are on fourth down, what it tells me is that those third downs, those gotta-have-it plays, Kansas State's getting beat in the trenches. Is that toughness? Is that ability? Is it any one thing, or is it just a combination of things that has kept Kansas State from being good enough on those money downs to either stay on the field or get off the field and probably turn the outcome of either of their first 2 defeats?
You know, it's amazing how Army really didn't break any substantial runs. They had, maybe one that went for double digits, but it worked in their favor because it made it more methodical. Picking up 6 out of 7 fourth down conversions. In the 2 losses, Dan, Kansas State has given up 9 out of 10 fourth down conversions. That says a lot about who you are. And if I was a player, I would find that to be humiliating because a fourth down conversion is, I want it more than you. And I think it defines where this team's at right now. And honestly, I don't know if they can change that nature. This just might be who they are. And it's sad to watch this for K-Staters.
Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com is our guest, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Wednesday at this time. Do you think that Chris Kleiman has, in his post-game remarks, in his weekly press conference remarks, do you believe that publicly, at least, he's struck the right tone when talking about his team, where they're at, who they are, what they need to become, and what they need to do to get there? Or do you think that maybe something has been missing a little bit? I know it's just words, and we're not in the locker room. We're not privy to all of that. But do you think, at least publicly, the tone that's been struck has been the appropriate one from Coach Kleiman?
No, I don't. And I'm going to do a daily delivery. I got to line some up to build the mornings while we travel. But he's not messaging very well to his customers, which is the fan base. And I know what he intended when he said he was proud of his team after that game, but it wasn't received the way he intended. It sounded like he was okay with them losing. And I know Coach Kleiman very well, and he did not mean that. He basically was saying, I still love my guys. And but saying you're proud of them after, losing a game that nature when they just get out wanted. I mean, Army wanted that a lot more than K-State. Iowa State wanted it. North Dakota wanted it more, and they deserved to win. So, yeah, I think maybe being a little bit more harsh, maybe not on specific players, would be well suited right now. And let's hope on Friday night he can talk about good things because they win. But I honestly don't see that happening.
We'll get there in a bit, but I wanted to go back to the idea of maybe not wanting it enough or just the personality of the team being what it is. Who are the guys on this team? And maybe the answer is they don't have them. But who are the guys on this team that have the authority and have the ability to get up in front of their peers and their teammates and grab them by the scruff of the neck, metaphorically speaking, and say, hey, look, we're not letting this season go down the sewer. This isn't happening to us. This isn't happening to Kansas State. I have felt for a long time, and I'm sure you agree, Fitz, that the culture of Kansas State football is strong enough that when people make the comparison to last year's Florida State team, for instance, Florida State lost in Ireland unexpectedly, and they ended up going 2-10, and a bunch of those guys flat out quit on Mike Norvell. I don't think there's quit in this Kansas State team, but where's the grit? I hate that rhyme. That's so corny, but like, bear with me, right? Like, who are those guys? Where is that going to come from if indeed this is a group that has it in them?
That's why I'm afraid this is just who they are, because you look at the captains and, you know, just take the two biggest stars that you have as captains, Austin Romaine at linebacker and Avery Johnson. These are, I mean this as a compliment, but it really isn't right now. These are just tremendous young men. They're just amazing guys. But someone needs to be the jerk. So, and I don't think they have it. Someone needs, with some authority, a frontline player to climb up everyone else's you-know-what. And I don't know that they have that guy in the locker room. And it's a horrible thing to say, but I just think Chris Kleiman's built too nice of a team. You know, I find myself sitting here yearning for the days when we'd hear about Niall Wyron stealing a motorcycle and driving it all over town and then parking it back in the same spot. I mean, look, the beauty of it, I haven't had to worry about an arrest report or any kind of crime thing in a very long time. But I think they're not properly flipping the switch. Some of the most competitive SOBs out there are really nice guys. They really are. But they know to flip the switch. And they get that Mike Singletary look in their eyes when they're on the football field. I don't think anyone has that look, that I am going to tackle you in a painful way. I don't think they have that in them. And I don't know what else to say about that. You can't fake that. You can't generate that. It has to come sincerely from someone that is held with great respect in the locker room. I'm not sure who that is. I'm just not.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up here on 580 Sports Talk. I don't want to sound like I'm making an excuse here. How impactful, this is an honest question, how impactful do you believe that the injuries that Kansas State has dealt with, particularly the injury right away to Dylan Edwards in the Iowa State game, but also injuries to guys like Lincoln Cure, injuries to guys like Ryan Davis, injury now to JB Bradley at receiver. How impactful do you think those have been to what this team was capable of?
Oh, I think certainly Dylan in particular, that derailed a lot of their offensive plans. And they've struggled at running the ball. I put it more on the offensive line than the backs, but Dylan's also a guy who can create something on his own. So we were talking about a team that was going to have a lot of speed at skill positions, and you lose Dylan Edwards without an offensive snap. And I think that has derailed them a little bit. But I also don't think Matt Wells has done a particularly good job of putting his frontline players, his playmakers, in positions to make plays. How do you get to the end of the game and you only ran 40-some plays? I get that, 46, I think it was. Avery Johnson carried the ball 3 times. I mean, I don't even know what they're doing now. They're so eager to protect their quarterback, they're willing to lose. I can't wrap my mind around that. Yeah, he's healthy. And you're 1 and 2. I mean, what purpose does it serve to just bottle him up? You recruited an incredible dual threat quarterback and decided to make him a pocket passer. It doesn't make sense.
Arizona's the opponent on Friday night. It's a short week, which is the last thing in the world that defense that was on the field for 914 plays on Saturday needed. So there's that going against Kansas State. It's a road game. It's 2 time zones away. It is not ideal circumstances for a turnaround. But if Kansas State is to win this battle of cats and come back with a pulse in their 2025 season, what other than intangible improvement has to happen? What do they have to do in the X's and O's battle to find a way to go pull off a win in Tucson?
It strikes me, particularly on defense, that, they've gone to this new defense for these guys. It's what Joe Klanderman and Chris Kleiman have always coached until they went to the 3-man front to handle some of the offenses in the Big 12, but now they're back to the 4-man front. And I think on Saturday they did an excellent job of doing their job, but not doing it with any passion. I was in the right place and made the tackle. It was a 3-yard gain. I could have probably tackled him for a 1-yard loss, but I got him down. It's just they're not attacking their opponent on either side of the ball. And if they do get a win, and then they go into the off week where they can heal up, maybe that will hit the reset. But I fear this team kind of is what it is, and I think the coaches are going to need to generate enthusiasm with more aggressive play calling on both sides of the ball.
Tim Fitzgerald and the crew at GoPowerCat.com will have it all covered. They'll have people traveling for this one, K-State and Arizona on Friday night. Of course, if you're a VIP subscriber to 24/7 Sports like I am, you get all the inside info from the GoPowerCat.com crew. Tim Fitzgerald joins us every Wednesday on the program on 580 Sports Talk. We got through it without sobbing, Fitz. That was no guarantee, but we've had sunnier conversations on these radio airwaves, and hopefully we'll get to have another one like that next week.
I've covered some bad teams or some teams that weren't very good. This is completely unexpected. I thought this team was going to be really good.
Yeah, it's befuddling. And the question of bad team or team playing badly, I suspect we're going to know the answer by the end of Friday night, one way or another. Fitz,
Amen,
thanks for
brother.
the time. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll step aside for a timeout. We'll come back with a final word, wrapping up this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk next. Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. We got Royals baseball coming up. 5 o'clock pregame, 5:40 first pitch from Progressive Field as the Royals and Guardians play Game 3 of their 4-game series. Maybe the Royals will score a run tonight, or 2, or maybe even 3. We can dare to dream, can't we? So Royals playoff hopes on life support after back-to-back losses to open this 4-game set against their AL Central rivals. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 until 5:30. Royals conclude their series against Cleveland, but it's a night game on Thursday. It's a 6:15 first pitch. So we'll break at 5:30 on tomorrow's show. We'll talk to Mitch Holtis on tomorrow's show. We'll have Rick Peterson from TopSports.news for a local sports spotlight. We'll have a lot of fun on tomorrow's edition of the program. My final word today is that it was not a lot of fun talking Kansas State football with Tim Fitzgerald. Not in the sense that I don't enjoy talking with Fitz. I have enjoyed talking with Fitz ever since the first time I got to do it on the radio, which was when he would appear on my show that I hosted in Wichita, Kansas, in a previous radio life of mine. I always enjoy talking to Fitz. But it's not fun talking about this iteration of Kansas State football because there is nothing that is more disappointing than a team with sky-high expectations failing to meet them. And that's where we stand with this Kansas State team. Whatever you think about where this season can go, there's no denying that what it has been is a total failure to launch here in 2025. And that is a hard thing to process. It's a hard thing as a fan, for fans to deal with, because it is so disappointing and it is so frustrating, and you want people to be held accountable. And Tim Fitzgerald knows that program, knows that coaching staff better than anyone. And when he looks at that program and says, I don't know that they've got a turnaround in them. They might just not be wired for greatness. That's a hard thing to hear. He might be right. Again, like I said in my parting shot with Fitz, I still think there's a chance this is just a team playing badly and not a bad team. There's a difference. You can pull yourself out of a tailspin. You don't have a lot of time to do it in college football. Just ask Kansas. Last year, Kansas was a team playing badly. They pulled themselves out of that tailspin, but it was too late in the end to preserve bowl eligibility. That could be the fate of this Kansas State team. They don't have a lot of time. They got 9 games to try and pull themselves out of this tailspin. But listening to Fitz, they might not have the personality and the leadership and the grit to pull themselves out of this tailspin. That would be very bad news. Royals baseball's next. We're back tomorrow. My name is Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.